Okay, we're going to begin the Gemara Shabbos on Daf Yud Amud Beis. We are holding a couple of lines from the bottom, about 6-7 lines from the bottom, where it says Va'omar Rava B'Machasya. Zok the Gemara Va'omar Rava B'Machasya Omar Rav Chama Baguri Omar Rav La'olam Yechazer Adam V'Yeshev B'Ir She'Yishivasa Kroiva. A person should always look to live in a city that has been settled recently, more recently than another city. Which means if a person has the option to go and live in a city where there are tzaddikim, there are Yirei Shamayim, of course that's the best place to live in. But if not, if he's going into a place where there are no Yirei Shamayim, so he should choose to live in a city that was settled more recently than another city. Shemitoich she'yishivasa kroiva, because it was settled more recently, aveineseha muatin. The averis of the people there are less. Shanama, we learn this from what it says in the pasuk. Here you have this city, which is nearby, that I could run away there. This is what Lot tells the Malach when he was taking him out of the city of Sodom, and he says that he should bring him to the city, to Mitzar, to save his life and not to be turned over with the city of Sodom. Vihi Mitzar. My kroiva, what's the pshat when it says that it's close by? Ilema kroiva is the pshat that it was the mekarva, the meaning kroiva means that it's close by to Sodom. Vizutta, when it says mitzar, that it's a small city. Lakachazula, that's something that the Malach could see, that's obvious, there's no chiddush in that. Ella, rather what the pasuk is saying is mitoich she'yishivasa kroiva, because it's a city that has been settled later than Sodom. It's a city that has less averis and therefore should not be turned over, and I could enter into this city and I could be saved over there. Where is there a pasuk that we see that this city was settled later than Sodom? My life should be saved over there. The pasuk uses the word no. What does no mean? No b'gematria nun v'chad. No is 51. Hava. That's the amount of years that this city was settled. V'shel Sodom nun beis. And Sodom was settled for 52 years. Rashi here makes a long cheshbon of how we know that Sodom was settled for 52 years. The point that Rashi says is that Sodom was a city that was settled after the Doira Floga. And the Doira Floga was in the generation of Peleg. When Peleg passed away, which is when the Doira Floga happened, as Rashi makes the cheshbon, Avram Avinu was 48 years old. And then the day that Sodom was turned over was when Avram Avinu was 99 years old. So that's 52 years. From the year when Avram was in his 48th year, when he was 47 years old, until 99, is 52 years that the city of Sodom was standing. So over here the pasuk says Imalta no b'gematria nun v'chad, that it was 1 year settled, 1 year less than Sodom. Now the Gemara continues and says V'shalvasa, the peace in the city of Sodom was chavav, was 26 years. The chsiv, we see in the pasuk where it describes the years when there was no peace in Sodom. Shtei meser shana avdus kadar laima. There was 12 years when they were subservient, they had to serve kadar laima. 13 years, that is, they rebelled against him. So that's already 25 years. And only in the 26th year, then they were freed. So for 26 years, they were fighting, they were not free. And only after that, the remainder of the 26 years, were they free. So the Gemara here continues, these are all statements that are brought in the name of the same Amayra, and they're not necessarily related one to another. Kol ir, any city, that the roofs of the houses are taller than the shul. The end will be that the city will be destroyed. Shenamar, the pasuk says, that if you have the cities, if the cities has in it the Beis Elokeinu that's taller, that's meraimim, that's higher than all the rest of the roofs in the city, then lahamed es charveisav, it will not be destroyed. The hanimili bebatim, this only refers to the roofs of the houses. Aval bekishkushi va'avruri, but when it comes to forts and towers that are built in the city, less lamba, that doesn't matter. Ravashi says, I saw to it that the city of Masa Machasya should not be destroyed. Frekte Gemara, eventually the city was destroyed, and for the Gemara, from those Avedis in that time period, it was not destroyed because Ravashi saw to it that there should be no roofs of any houses in the city of Masa Machasya taller than the shul. So this is a halacha that's brought in Shulchan Aruch, that not to build any houses taller than the shuls, although today we don't see people being makpid on this for various reasons, either because anyways today there are other buildings that are taller than the shuls, there are lahavdil churches that are built even taller than the shuls, and it's not in our ability b'chlal to change that. And also, like we mentioned over here, that there's a difference between houses, or if you have kishkushi va'avruri, which are forts and towers that are built for other purposes. So the same thing also, the idea of a person building a house in a shul that's taller than the shul, he's trying to show that his house is nicer and fancier and greater than the shul. That's the idea here. But if a person builds a big apartment building and he's not trying to show that that his house is taller and better than the shul, it's just a matter of the space that he needs to build the apartments for the people to live, so then what it says in the Gemara here doesn't apply. You should rather work for a guy that comes from Yishmael, but not work for a Nochri, like Rashi says. This refers to a guy that comes from Esav, from Edom. They're bigger Rishoyim. Tachas Nochri, work for a guy, v'loy tachas Chaber. Don't work for Chaber, which Rashi says comes from Persians that are even greater Rishoyim. Tachas Chaber, rather work for a Chaber, v'loy tachas Talmud Chacham. Don't work for a Talmud Chacham. Why not? Because a Talmud Chacham could have a big paid on a person if he doesn't do what he tells him to do. Tachas Talmud Chacham, you should rather work for a Talmud Chacham, v'loy tachas Yosem v'almona, and don't work for a Yosem or an Almona, because if you do anything that they don't like and they cry and they beg Hashem, so then the Eibishter listens to them very quickly, and it could be very, very not good for you. If it's bashared for a person to be sick, so any sickness, but not a sickness in the stomach. Kol ka'ev, any pain, if a person has to experience, is but v'loy ka'ev leiv. It shouldn't be heart pains. Pain is less than sickness. Kol michosh, any ache, if a person has to have any ache in his body, but v'loy michosh roish, you shouldn't have to have a headache. Kol ra, if a person has to experience anything bad, it should be anything but v'loy yishara, not to have a bad wife, which can cause him a lot of trouble. If all of the oceans would be made up of diyoi, of ink, v'agamim kolmesim, and all of the reeds would be quills, v'shamayim yiriyos, and the heavens would be parchment, v'chol b'nei adam lavlorin, and all people would be scribes. Ei maspikim lichtoiv chalala shel rashus. It would not be enough to realize and to write and to explain the depth of what it takes for a government to run a country. Where do you see this? My kara, Omer Rav Mesharshir says it because it says in the pasuk, Shamayim l'rum ve'eretz lo'imek, the heavens above and the earth below, v'leiv melachim, and the hearts of a king that has to govern a country, ein cheker. There's no understanding of how deep this goes. So there's the simple pshat of the Gemara that it refers to the government, that sometimes you don't understand the ways of the government, and yet in order to run an entire country, we have to always give the government the benefit of the doubt and follow their instructions, even if sometimes they tell you to quarantine. Or so others say that this Gemara refers to the Eibishter, that the Eibishter is really the one that's behind every government, and he's the Melech Malchei Amlachim that's running matters in the entire world, and even if we don't understand sometimes what the Eibishter does in the world, we still have to be assured that the Eibishter has a plan. A fast for a person that had a bad dream is good, is beneficial for this fast to remove the bad things of the fast, like the way fire catches on to flax. But it should be on that very day, the day after the person had a bad dream. Rav Yosef said, Afilu b'Shabbos, including on Shabbos, if a person had a bad dream on Friday night, you should fast on Shabbos in order to get rid of the bad dream. Rav Shua Bereid Rav Idi Ikla Lebei Rav Ashi. Rav Shua Bereid Rav Idi was visiting with Rav Ashi. Of delay, Ikla Tilsa. They prepared for him a igla, a calf, a third calf. One pshat is a calf born third to the mother is the strongest of the behemoths, and therefore it's the best meat. Another pshat is it's a calf that's a third grown, also the best time to shech the behemoth to get the best meat. So they prepared for him the best of the meats. Amrulei, they said to him, Litay mar midi, why don't you taste something? Amalahu, betainis yasivna, I'm fasting. Amrulei, so they said to him, Volei savale mar lahad Rav Yehuda, do you not agree to what Rav Yehuda said? Dam Rav Yehuda, loiva adam tanisa pareya, a person can borrow from his fast and then pay it back. So even if you are fasting now, you can borrow and then repay your fast at a different time. Some say this only refers to a situation where a person made a neder to fast, but he didn't say specifically that he's going to fast on this day. But if he said he's going to fast on this day, then he has to keep his neder and fast on that day. Others say even if he said specifically that he's going to fast on this day, he still may borrow that day and repay it on a different day. Amalei. So he says to them, Reb Shua ben Bred Ravidi says to them, Tainis cholim ho. I'm actually fasting for a Tainis cholim. And that has to be on this day. A Tainis for a dream is beneficial like the fire that catches onto flax. It has to be on the day after the dream. That's even on a Shabbos. So therefore I can't eat. Going back to the Mishnah, we learned in the Mishnah on Daf Tes, where the Tana said that if a person is davening, if a person is eating, that is, that he doesn't have to interrupt to say that to daven, mincha, to daven, even though he has to interrupt for Kriya Shema. So the question the Gemara is going to ask now is, it says already earlier in the Mishnah, V'mischilu ein mafsikin. Then the Mishnah says again, V'ein mafsikin l'tfila. You don't have to interrupt your meal for davening. That's what it seems. The Mishnah is repeating the same thing. V'mischilu ein mafsikin, and then mafsikin l'Kriya Shema, and then it says again that ein mafsikin l'tfila. In fact, the Gemara hatani l'reisha ein mafsikin. It already says once in the reisha that you're not mafsik, and for the Gemara, Seifa asan l'divrei Torah. The Seif of the Mishnah, when it says again ein mafsikin, it refers to a person learning. That even when he's learning, he doesn't have to be mafsik for davening. The Tanya chaveirim shayoiskim b'Torah, chaveirim that are sitting and learning Torah mafsikin l'Kriya Shema, but ve'ein mafsikin l'tefillah. They're mafsik for Kriya Shema, but they do not have to be mafsik for saying Kriya Shema. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan lo yishanu. This halacha of this Mishnah was not said. Ela kagayin Rab Shimon ben Yochi v'chaveirav. People like Rab Shimon ben Yochi and his friends, their profession is to learn Torah. They learn Torah the entire time, so they don't have to be mafsik for Kriya Shema. Aval kagayin anu, people like us that don't learn Torah the entire time, mafsikin l'Kriya Shema l'tefillah, should interrupt for Kriya Shema and for davening as well. We learned in a Braisa, just as you do not have to interrupt for Kriya Shema, for davening, that is, for tefillah, kachem mafsikin l'Kriya Shema, you do not have to be mafsik for Kriya Shema as well. And for the Gemara, ki taniyahi be'ibur shana. When does it say? When does it say in this Braisa that you don't have to be mafsik even for Kriya Shema? Is if they're in middle of learning the halachas or doing the ibur shana to figure out how to establish the year, to have the extra month of the year, to set the calendar. The Amar Avada Barava, v'chein tanesabed hagrunya, Amar Abalaza Bar Tzadik, sheyino oiskim biba shana b'yavneh. When we were being Isaac and figuring out the calendar, the dates for the year, lo yinu mafsikin, lo l'Kriya Shema, v'lo l'tefillah. Because this is something that is extremely important to make sure that the calendar is set right, that the Yom Tovim should be in the right time, and for this you're not mafsik at all. That's the conclusion of this part of the sugya. So let me mention over here an interesting inyan that the Rebbe speaks about. The Rebbe brings from the Yerushalmi that actually clearly says that Rab Shimon ben Yochai would not be mafsik not for Kriya Shema and not for Tefillah. In the Gemara here it says that he would be mafsik for Kriya Shema, since Kriya Shema is minat Torah. Only for Tefillah he wouldn't be mafsik, but in the Yerushalmi it says that he wouldn't be mafsik at all. So the Rebbe says that we don't have to say it's a machlokes between the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. Rather, what we could say is 2 points. First, the Rebbe says there may be a difference between Rab Shimon ben Yochai himself and the Chavraya of Rab Shimon ben Yochai. In our Gemara, it says Rab Shimon ben Yochai v'Chaveirov. So since it's talking about Rab Shimon ben Yochai v'Chaveirov, it's really focusing on the level of the Chavraya of Rab Shimon ben Yochai, and they were mafsik for Kriya Shema. But Rab Shimon ben Yochai himself, which was on an even higher level, as it's brought that he was a Yochid in his generation, from the Bnei Aliyah, he was on a very high level, so he wasn't mafsik even for Kriya Shema either. Because the Yerushalmi there says that he said, Kriya Shema is learning Torah, is saying Psukim of Torah. Learning Torah is also Torah, so it's the same thing. Why do I have to be mafsik? So Rab Shimon ben Yochai's level of learning Torah was on the level of saying Kriya Shema, was one and the same thing. He didn't have to be mafsik. That's one pshat that Rebbe explains. Another pshat that Rebbe says perhaps there's a difference regarding Rab Shimon ben Yochai's own anhageh before he came out of the Maida and after he came out of the Maida. Before he entered into the Maida, which he spent, this is the cave that he spent 12 or 13 years in it, so then his anhageh was that he was mafsik for Kriya Shema. After he came out of the cave and he was on a much higher level, he didn't interrupt at all. He didn't interrupt not for Kriya Shema and not for Tefillah. Zok the Mishnah, we begin a new Indian here. Now we come back to Shabbos. Lo yetze hachayid b'machtoi samach l'chashecha. A person that has a needle that he uses to sew should not walk with his needle in his. He should not hold the needle near Shabbos. Why? Shema yishkach. He might forget and come to carry it. V'yetze and walk out on Shabbos. V'lo yalavler b'kul masay. And a person that's a sefer should not walk around with his quill before close to Shabbos. A person should not delouse his clothing on Shabbos, as we'll see later. The Gemara will explain this. And a person should not read on Shabbos to the light of a lamp, because a person may come to tilt and play around with the fire to fix it, to fix the light in order to be able to read. However, in truth it was said, the chazan, which is either referring to a shamish in a shul that has to prepare for the kriyas HaTorah for the next day, and he wants to see what is the kriyas HaTorah for the next day. He doesn't know what the parsha of the week is, and he wants to see what the kriyas HaTorah is. So Raya, he can use the light of the lamp to take a look and see heichon tinoikes kairen, where are the children reading from? Avalhu la yikra, but he should not read himself, sit down to read from the parsha from the light of the lamp. But he can use the light of the lamp to see just the beginning where they're holding to know what to prepare the Sefer Torah for. A similar inyan. This is another case where there's a gzeira that Chazal made for a person not to come to an Isser. Lo yochel azav and azava, which are both tamei and may not have relations together, should not sit at the same table together and eat without any sign, mifnei hergel aveda, because they shouldn't come accustomed to be too close together and come to have relations. So the Gemara now will begin with a discussion that relates to the concept of making gzeiros b'chlal. And we know that there's a rule that Chachamim make many gzeiros. However, Chachamim do not make gzeiros l'gzeiros. They make one gzeira, but then they do not make a second gzeira to enforce the first gzeira. Tanan Asam, we learned in a Mishnah in Eruvin. Lo ya'amod adam b'reshus hayachid, a person should not stand in a reshus hayachid, v'yishte b'reshus harabim, and drink water from the reshus harabim. Or b'reshus harabim v'yishte b'reshus hayachid, or stand in the reshus harabim and drink water in the reshus hayachid. This is all a gzeira because a person might come to bring the water of the reshus hayachid into the reshus harabim, or vice versa. Aval im hichnes reishe v'rubay l'makom shushayse. If a person is standing and most of his body is in the reshus that he's drinking the water, and then mutter, then it's okay. Then the Chacham didn't make the gzeira. V'chein begas. The same applies also to a wine press. The Gemara will soon discuss what exactly is the meaning of v'chein begas. That will be a main point over here in the sugya. Now the Gemara asks a question first. Carmelis mai. How about in a carmelis? If a person is in a carmelis and he wants to stick his head into a reshus hayachid to drink, or he's in a carmelis and he wants to stick his head into a reshus harabim to drink, does the same gzeira apply or not? Omar Abaya said, this is the same gzeira. Just like in the Mishnah there it says that you may not stand in reshus hayachid and drink water from the reshus harabim, or from the reshus harabim and drink water in the reshus hayachid. The same gzeira applies if he's standing in a carmelis. Rava says no. He gufa gzeira, the entire existence of this carmelis that you may not carry from a carmelis to a reshus hayachid or a reshus harabim is a gzeira. V'anan neikim v'nigza gzeira legzeira, and we are going to make a gzeira on a gzeira that the person should not come to carry from the carmelis to the reshus hayachid or a reshus harabim, and therefore he should be not allowed to drink if he's standing in a carmelis and sticking his head into the reshus hayachid or reshus harabim. Why should we make a gzeira legzeira? We don't do that. So this is the argument of Abaye and Rava. Do we make a double gzeira in this case or not? So obviously Abaye was of the opinion that in this case, and there are many exceptions where Chachamim make double gzeiras. Gzeiras l'gzeiras. So Abaye held that over here this is a case that Chachamim made a double gzeira. Rava says no, there's no reason to make a double gzeira. Omar Abaye says, Abaye minoam minallah, from where do I see that Chachamim did make this gzeira? The Iktani, since it says in the conclusion of the Mishnah in Erevin that we quoted before, v'chein begas, so too in a wine press. That was the conclusion. What's this gas? What's the story with this wine press? My gas. What's a wine press? If it's a wine press that has the proper fence around and the wall of the fence that makes it a reshus hayachid, then tanina. That we already said in the first part of the Mishnah. If this wine press is in an open area and has a din of a reshus harabim, tanina. It's also what it said in the first part of the Mishnah. Elalav carmelis. When it says v'chein begas, don't you think that this is speaking about a carmelis? And the chiddush over here is that Chachamim applied the same gzeira that you shouldn't stand in one reshus and stick your head into another reshus to drink. V'chein begas, that applies to a carmelis as well. So that's Abaye's raya. Rava says v'chein begas, that when it says v'chein begas, it applies to something else. It applies le'inyan meiser. It's talking about meiser, but we're talking about the wine that's in the wine press. The wine that's in the wine press is an unfinished product. And really, the din of meiseris does not apply yet until it's a finished product and it's outside of the wine press. While it's in the wine press, you're allowed to drink from the wine temporarily without meiser. However, if you're going to take the wine out of the wine press, you're not allowed. So what the Mishnah is saying when it says v'chein begas, if you took the wine out of the wine press, you're not allowed to drink. If you're standing outside the wine press and you stick your head in to drink, you're also not allowed. But if most of your body is in the wine press and you drink there, on that the Chachamim warned geyser, and over there you're allowed to drink temporarily without taking the meiser. So it's a separate inyan. It's applying the same concept regarding the din of meiseris in the wine and the wine press. The Tnan, we learned in a Mishnah, Shaisin alagas, you're allowed to drink the wine in the wine press, Ben alachamen, whether you're diluting this wine with warm water, Ben alatzainen, whether you're diluting it with cold water, upater. And either way, you're going to be pater. Because you're drinking the wine temporarily, so there's no meiser, it's not a finished product yet. Divrei Rab Meir, this is Rab Meir's opinion. Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadik mechayev, Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadik says, even drinking it in this way, you're still going to be chayev. The Chachamim make a distinction and they say, so Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadik's opinion is, once you diluted it with this water, so you're not pouring it back into the wine press, so now this is already considered to be a permanent drinking that you have to take meiser of it first. Chachamim Maimrim, the Chachamim say it depends. Alachamin, if you diluted it with warm water, so then chayiv, then you're obligated to take the meiser. Alatzainen, potter. But if you diluted it with cold water, then it's potter. Well, it's the difference between hot or cold water. If you diluted it with cold water, so that you very often would pour it back into the wine because it's not going to cause the wine that's there to be sour. But if you poured warm or hot water into this wine, so then you're not going to be pouring it back, so whatever you're drinking is temporary, and therefore you have to take meiser. You don't have to take meiser from that. Sagt die Gemara Tanan lo yetze hachayet b'machtoi samach l'chasheicha. Chayet, a person that is a Schneider, should not go out on Shabbos with his needle that he has near dark. So now we're going to bring a raya from this Mishnah to the argument of Abaye and Rava regarding the question of whether Chachamim make a gzeira l'gzeira. So it says that the chayet should not go out with his needle samich l'chasheicha, shema yishkach v'yetze. because he might forget and go out with it on Shabbos. My love, don't you think, what is this Mishnah talking about? The tchuvale bebigdai, that this needle is stuck into his garment like the custom of a chayit, that he places it in his garment. And he's not carrying it the way a person normally carries something on Shabbos. So he's not doing a malacha d'oraisa in the first place. So that's already one gzeira, that it's osur to do, even though it's not the regular way to carry it. It's just stuck into his clothing. On top of that, we're making another gzeira, that he should not walk around in that way near Shabbos, and not to forget to carry it out. So that's a gzeira l'gzeira. And for the Gemara law, so Rava says to this, no, that's not what the Mishnah is talking about. The nokat lebi yodeh, he's actually holding the pin in his hands, and he's carrying it in the regular way. Toshema, another ayah, lo yetze, in a brayse it says, lo yetze achayet b'machta tchuvale bebigdai. In this brayse it clearly says he should not walk out with the machat, which is stuck into his garment. My love, be'erev Shabbos. Don't you think we're talking about a case of erev Shabbos, and then it's telling me that he shouldn't walk around this way, not to come to carry on Shabbos. So it's a gzeira l'gzeira. And for the Gemara, ki tanyahi, this brayse is speaking about b'Shabbos. It's speaking about on Shabbos itself, because you might actually carry on Shabbos itself. Fragt the Gemara, v'hatanya lo yetze achayit b'machtoi hatchuva bebigdoi be'erev Shabbos im chashecha. It says clearly in a brayse that a person should not walk with the machat, with a needle stuck into his garment on erev Shabbos before it's night, because he might come to carry. So it's clearly talking about erev Shabbos, and he's not holding the machat in his hands in the regular way of carrying. It's stuck into his garment. So we clearly see that there is a gzeira l'gzeira. If the Gemara hamani Rabbi Yehudihi, this follows the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, the uman derech umnasai chayev, an uman that carries an item the way the uman, usually the craftsmen usually place the items for their craft. That's the derech of this person to carry it, and he's chayev. It's not considered to be a shinui that he's carrying it, holding it inside a garment. That's the regular derech for him. The Tanya we learned in Abraisa lo yetze chayet b'machtat chuvale bebigdoi. Chayet should not walk out on Shabbos with the machat that's in his garment. V'lo nager bekisim, and a carpenter should not walk out with a kisim, with a ruler that he wears shabazna, that he puts in his hair. V'lei sairik b'meshicha, and a sairik is a person that combs clothing b'meshicha, with the keli that they use for this combing, that he also shabazna, that he puts in his ear. V'lei gardi b'ira shabazna. And the same thing also, not a gardi with the tzemer that he uses, a person that's sewing. So he has this stopper that he uses, a person that's weaving, he has this stopper also that he puts on his ear. And a person that's painting, he has an example that he shows people that he puts on his shoulder. A person that's a money changer with a coin that he puts in his ear. So even though these are not the normal way of carrying for a normal person, but for these people it's the normal way of carrying for their profession. This is how they advertise their profession. V'im yotza, and if he walks out this way, poter avalaser, divrei Rab Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, uman derech umnaseh chayev. Because this is the derech of the uman, so therefore it's chayev. And that's who the brayse that was quoted before is going according to. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Shar kol adam, other people are poter. We learned in one brayse, Azov b'kisoi. Azov is just a person that has an emission, and he has a pouch to take the emission into it. So the question is he allowed to walk out with this pouch on Shabbos? In one brayse it says that Azov should not walk out on Shabbos with this pouch. V'im yotza, if he did walk out, potter. So then he's potter. Avalaser, but it's forbidden with the Rabbana, because it's a shinu, it's not the regular way of walking out with this on Shabbos. V'tanya idach, in a different brayse we learned, lo yetze, a person should not walk out with this pouch that the Zav wears on Shabbos. V'im yotza, if he did go out with it on Shabbos, chayev chatos. Then he will be chayev chatos. So we have a contradiction here with these two brayses. Rabbi Yosef says, like Kashi, it's not a question. Ha Rab Meir, ha Rab Yehuda. One brayse follows Rab Meir's opinion, one follows Rab Yehuda's opinion. The argument that we just brought, according to Rab Meir, even a person that's doing something which is like his profession, nevertheless, That's a shinui. Since people normally don't carry that way, so therefore he's not chayiv on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says if that's his profession, then he's allowed. So it's the same thing also with the zav. Since it's his profession, so therefore it's forbidden even min HaTorah. So the same thing over here regarding the zav. This individual, the zav, for him it's normal to have the pouch in this way, even though for a normal person to have a pouch, to wear a pouch is not normal, but for him that it's normal, so therefore it's going to be chayav chatos. So that Braisa follows Rav Yehuda's opinion. The Braisa that says that he's potter follows Rav Meir's opinion. Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef says lekasha Rav Meir Rav Yehuda. So that's what we just read. This is the answer that this is Rav Meir and this is Rav Yehuda. Abaye, so Abaye responds and says no. When did Rab Meir say this? Regarding something which is not the normal way. In other words, Rab Meir held, even for those craftsmen that were mentioned before, they don't normally keep those items in the way that it was mentioned there in the Braisa, whether in the ear or on the beged, stuck into the beged. That's not normal. They put it there from time to time to show what they're doing or to demonstrate to people, but usually a needle is held in the hand and everything is held normally in the hand. So over there, that's why Rab Meir held that you would be potter. But over here, however, but for a zav, which this is normal for him to keep the pouch in that area in order to get the emission, so over there he would agree. Would he say that this would be permitted min HaTorah? If you're not going to say that this is true, that Rab Meir agrees in this case, so how about the following example? Hedyet shechokak kav bibikas. A hedyet, just an amateur comes along and makes a hole in a piece of wood. He's not a professional carpenter and he doesn't know how to make the hole the proper size. He comes and he makes a hole, he does a malach on Shabbos, but it's not done perfectly. Are you going to say according to Rab Meir that he's not chayiv? For this amateur, this is the normal way how it's done. You're not chayiv only if you do something that's perfectly the way the person that knows how to do it professionally does it. If he does it, this is his way how to do it, the malacha, he knows how to make a hole in this way, so he's chayiv for that. Same thing with the zav. If for the zav, this is for him the normal way how he carries the pouch out, so for him it's normal, so he's chayiv, even if for someone else it's not normal. So we can't say that the Braisa that says that he would be potter follows Rab Meir's opinion. So the Gemara is going to give another pshat over here. There's a hemshach over here in the Gemara which follows all the way into Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. And we'll see Mitzvah Hashem, the continuation tomorrow with Hashem's help. It's not easy to give a shir without live people here. I'm giving this shir for the people to be able to follow online. It's not the same. I hope in Mitzvah Hashem we should be able to continue very, very soon with people alive, here, present, and together with Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, and hopefully the quality of the shir will be much, much better then.